issues. God, the YouTube body is going to look like absolute shit. Sorry guys, if you're watching back on YouTube, I apologize. It's going to be like in quite a few different parts today. Oh my God, why Delilah? Why Delilah is the question. So strange that this keeps happening. I really need to look in, but I troubleshooted the problems this time and it fixed it, so hopefully the Wi-Fi will be doing what it needs to be doing. Very strange. Very strange indeed. But yeah, if you can see me, say hi. Jump back in, say hello if you can see me and you can hear me fine. What was I looking at? Cultivators, wasn't I? $20 grand, 68,500. Hello, I know, happy Monday indeed. Having lovely conversations with you all, and then it's like, do you know what? I'm gonna just not speak to you right now. And I'm gonna click the Wi-Fi off. So this is what happened last time. So, you know when my PC was configuring and it went to shit and then it went to shit again? Tom came in and like troubleshooted the, he came in and troubleshooted the Wi-Fi settings and it's sorted itself out and it's just done the same thing again now. I don't know why I'm having such issues with it. I might have to ring Vodafone and ask them what it is that's happening on their end to see if they can see anything, but I've turned the booster on now, so it should be fine after I've fixed it. I fixed it and I turned the booster on, so it should be okay. But again, we'll see. We'll see whether it decides it's going to stay the way that it's going to stay and be good for us for the rest of the day. I think genuinely it's probably got something to do with the weather that we're having recently. Because I said earlier on my TikTok that it was really sunny out today. It's now absolutely pissing it down with rain. So that might be why as well. But thanks for sticking around, guys. I appreciate it. My God. Sorry, where were we? Yeah. So with Gerald Ford. No, I've never heard of Gerald Ford being a president. I have not heard of that. I still, do you know what's crazy? I still don't really get, like, Hotbish, I can ask you this, because you're from the UK, and Kirsty, if Kirsty's still here, anybody from the UK is still here. What do you know of UK politics? Because I don't think we're taught anywhere near enough in school as to what it's all about, how I definitely know that we're not taught how important it is. I know that for sure, that we're not taught how important it is, because it was never something on my radar until I became much older. I remember when I first got a voting age and my dad was like, you need to start voting now, and I used to be like, well, I don't know what I'm really voting for, Dad. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be, I don't know what's correct, what's not correct. And he literally used to just be like, well, you've got to do your research. And I'm like, well, shouldn't I understand I'd have to do my own research to see like what my personal views, opinions and values are to vote for the right person, but like at the same time, should that not also be like provided in some form of sense? Like, should there not be like a breakdown of what each side does, doesn't do, agrees again, you know, agrees with, disagrees with? Because yeah, fuck all, exactly. We don't get any kind of formal or even informal, really, training. Like, politics isn't a class in UK schools. You can do politics. I think you can do some form of, like, introduction or, like, entry to politics at college. I'm not too sure, to be honest. I don't think I've ever heard of any of my friends doing it. But politics and stuff is more of a university degree that you have to go and do. I think you just have to have regular good grades at, like, GCSE level to be able to go and do politics at university. But there's not really anything specifically, I guess, that we're taught when we're younger in schools about it at all. And I think that's like really bad, that is, because we sit there and we learn history lessons about how bad certain countries are and how bad other countries are and how good some countries are. And we learn that, like, you know, these really big major events that happened back in God knows when. But that just doesn't seem so important or relative when you're being taught nothing about like the world today, you know? I think it's weird. Like, I don't know if you do, Chris, do you guys have politics classes or something like in your schools? Or do you Americans have like politics classes when you're in school? Because we in the UK definitely do not. In fact, it's kind of, I don't want to say frowned upon, but it's not something that you talk about. Like, I don't hear teachers teaching anything like that in any school. I don't know what private schools are like, obviously, but not in regular schools. Hello, Slav. So you do? Oh, you do. So in America, you have politics classes, like it, just like in your regular school curriculum. Like you have to, like the schools where you have to do what they sort of offer to teach, kind of thing. We don't have that here. I think that's so strange, don't you? We don't have regular politics. We have, what do we have, Hotbish? We had religious, something we call RE, which is religious education. I don't know if they do that. Again, I don't know what the school curriculum's like nowadays. When I was a kid, it was religious studies. Well, it was religious education for a little bit. Then they changed it to religious studies. Again, I don't know why they changed the name, but that was something that we couldn't do. Couldn't say. It was religious studies. We did geography and we did history. They were like our three... What did we used to call them, Hotbish? We used to call them something. They were three humanities. So that was our humanities trio. The trio of humanities teaching that we used to learn in our schools was geography, history, and religious studies. Religious studies was really, if I'm going to be honest, when I was in school, all I was taught about was Christianity. That was really it. Christianity. It was mentioned that people were Muslim. It was mentioned that people were Sikh. I think we even touched on like Buddhism at one point. But we were never taught about it. It was just mentioned to us that they were other religions that people had in the world, and that was it. Geography, all I ever remember learning was about dams and rivers and the local countrysides in the UK and how like they used to power things. We did a little bit on like sort of what did we do? We did a little bit on, sorry bro, you're in my way. We did a little bit on like the world map. That sounds really crazy, but like we did a little bit on the world map. I think I remember learning about Peru, but that was only because my teacher lived in Peru for a while and she taught us a little bit about Machu Picchu and stuff like that. But nothing else. And then our history lessons, we learned about obviously World War II. We learned about Hitler. We learned about God, what else did I learn in history? We learned, that was really it. And the Holocaust and World War II were like the main topics for that. And also we only do those three topics. So religious studies, geography, and what am I talking about? Religious studies, geography, and history. We only learnt those in our final 2 years of school, like really, so like any kind of degree, it was really only in the, like years 10 and 11 that we learned anything about that kind of thing. And that was it. That's all you get. There was no political stuff at all. There was no who you should vote for, why you should vote, the importance of voting. There was none of that at all. They offer a government class. It's a requirement. Government and like debate teams in some schools, which is basically politics. Your religious education was changed to religion and philosophy. Really? Mine was called religious studies. We had to call it religious studies. They never told us why we had to call it that, but they told us that we were no longer allowed to call it religious education. Again, don't know why. We have a subject in middle and high school that translates to society subject, and it had some stuff about how the government is set up and how it works, and in some ways about politics, but it's very surface level. See, we don't even get the surface level. Like, we didn't even get the surface level of it. How bad is that? Like, I'm looking at so many countries, or say like the British education system is much better than other countries, and like I see it on TikTok. I see a lot of Brits talk about like, oh, like, what are they teaching Americans nowadays? They can't even answer these simple questions and stuff. And I'm like, okay, but really, how much can you answer about politics? Because we weren't taught anything about that, so we were really taught nothing, like it feels now. I don't know what I learned in especially primary school, but mainly secondary school, which is the UK's like #1 thing. Like, your secondary school is supposed to be where you learn everything, because what you learn in secondary school gives you the options then to go and learn other things in college and universities later on in life, and go and do your degrees and whatever else you want to do. I now question what I really did learn. I learned maths, don't get me wrong, I've got like a very good knowledge of maths. Do I use it in my day-to-day life? apart from counting. I've got my phone, I've got my keys, I've got my bag. Like, do you know what I mean? I have not used Pythagoras' theorem ever in my life. I've not used simultaneous equations ever in my life. I've not used fucking anything like that in my life. English language and English literature, I think those were good classes, to be honest. They've taught, they teach you how to use punctuation, verbs, like grammar correctly and things like that. Even though I speak very slang, I'm very good at writing a good email, I can write a good email. That's about it. IT studies, our IT studies were really like, you didn't necessarily learn anything at all about computers. You just learned how to use like Microsoft Word and software programs and like how to do the basics on a computer, really. Food technology was something that we used to do. Again, no idea why it's called food technology, because it was literally just baking a cake one week, baking cookies the next week, or like making a salad the next week. Like, it was very, very basic surface level stuff, like how to turn on a cooker, which I think is important information, but again, could have been much more. Still don't know why it's called food technology. What else did we have? Science. Our science is split up into, so if you were smart, again, it sounds awful to say, but like if you were intelligent enough, you did triple science. If you weren't intelligent enough, you did second science, or like secondary science. I don't even know what it was called. Advanced science, maybe. And that was really just about like, biology was just learning about flowers and like fish, for me. Chemistry was just learning about Bunsen burners, iodine, and the chemical table. And physics was just about gravity. Like, we literally just learned about things like gravity and like why it's important to recognize what gravity is and things like that. Like, how stupid do I sound saying these things? I'm like, what on earth did we really learn? Where's my life skill class? I didn't get one of them. I was too ill to go to secondary school, and when we eventually got a home tutor, I was really far behind and never caught up. Girl, you're not missing nothing. Hotfish is way smarter than I am, and I got really good grades at school, so what did I really learn except for learning to correctly do what they wanted me to learn, I'm just convinced it's because I don't have a job that the government wants me to do, If I had a job that the government was like raging and like really wanting for me to do, then I think I would use these things, because they teach you what they want you to go and do. Oh, fuck. They teach you Pythagoras' theorem because they want you to be an engineer. They want you to be somebody who does all these crazy things. And then when you don't go and do that, you don't use Pythagoras' theorem at fucking McDonald's. Do you know what I mean? Crazy. What a crazy life. What a crazy life that we all live. It is wild. It is wild. I don't think they are allowed to teach religion in our schools anymore due to the law of separation of church and state. Really? That seems stupid. Sorry, that seems stupid. You should always be taught, at the very fucking least, that there are other religions than the one that you are in yourself, or if you're atheist, that there are religions in general, and you should always be taught to respect other people's religions. Now, I am not religious at all. Y'all know my fucking stance on the whole thing. I am very much in the same boat as Chris with it all. I think it's ridiculous, and I think it breeds nothing but violence and just like people not knowing things. I don't know how to explain how I feel about it, to be honest. It's just not good. But I would never disrespect somebody and their religion because it's what they truly believe in, it's what makes them happy. Just like I would never expect somebody who's not gay to tell me that my thoughts and feelings of the way that I live my life as a gay man is incorrect because it's not what they live their life like. But you're still allowed your own opinion. But I think you should definitely be taught at the very least what to sort of like expect or not expect and how to treat people. Right, where are we at with this? So we've got all these stones left to do in the middle. We need to make some money. So before we do that, let's go to the house and sleep. Wait, before I do that. Oh, the water's gone, hasn't it? Let me sleep till tomorrow. And we need to make some money because we've got none left. My kids aren't taught much on our own history, let alone the world. My kids are 9 and 16 in 48 hours, and they didn't know much about the Titanic, the rabbit-proof fence, and the stolen generation. Not even much about Wi-Fi. Schools aren't teaching much these days. It's discussing how far the education. What do schools teach? I'm questioning now what is genuinely being taught. I've been out of school for so long that I don't know what the curriculum looks like now. Like, when my fiance's sister comes home from school, she's like, and you ask her the typical, what did you learn? You don't get the same answer that like I used to give when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to tell my mum and dad what I learned, like, or so I thought now, but like I learned this, we did this today at school. Kids now, like, oh, it was shit, I didn't listen, I can't be arsed, teacher was moaning about this kid kicked off. I think it's changed drastically. You have home economics here. Teaches you basic things like sewing and cooking. I wish we had teachers that taught us like sewing and stuff. We never had that chance. We had something called design and technology. So we used to be able to do, like, we learned how to do soldering. That was interesting. They taught us how to solder things. I made like a clock back in the day. We did that. I learned how to do a clock. That was about it, actually. I don't think I did much else in design and technology. Then we did food tech, and then we had art, but art was literally just about drawing. We didn't do anything in art class apart from draw. Keep this. Where are the mushrooms worth selling right now? We need some cash. We're out. Mushrooms, farm shop. Catholic schools, I would think, do it too, unless we mean other religions. Wait, are Catholic schools considered private? Depends. Some Catholic schools are private, some are not, I believe. It depends. I don't know what it depends on, but I think it depends on something, Sloth. To be a good and obedient slave. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Chris. You're really not wrong. That's what we are taught to do. We're taught to learn skills that the government requires us to learn to fulfill job roles that they know need doing, without any concern, without any thought process behind how that individual being might feel working those kinds of jobs and doing those kinds of things. Like, everybody deserves to have a choice in what they do in life. And then they get angry when NHS workers and stuff walk out because they're not getting paid enough, and they're like, you don't make it very easy, bro. You also don't make it a job that people want to do, so like, what do you expect? Yeah, so they can make money off of us? Of course it is, yeah. Of course it is. Absolutely. Do. Right, stones. You carry on there. Let's take Mr. Tractor back with his cultivator, because that is all done. Both fields are done. Just got to stone pick this one. Lovely, lovely. Yes, there is a law of separation of church and state, and that was done decades ago because of the power that religion had over governments in other countries. Not religious by any means. However, I would never judge or condemn someone based on their belief. Exactly, yeah. My school did the clock thing too. Did you really, Hotbish? You did the clock thing too? You had to make the clocks? Oh my god. What else did we do in school? I don't remember. I really don't remember. The only good thing that I enjoyed about school was PE, like physical education. I loved doing sports. I think that's probably the only thing I picked up from school, was like what sports I liked, what sports I didn't like, and like what sports I was like actually good at. Because I was good at really quite a lot of sports, but I never would have known without school, because the curriculum for physical education for us back then was like, we used to do... Oh. Why can't I refill this now? What's going on? Why will you not refill? There we go. Is this empty? Yeah, the curriculum back then would like change every... Yeah, it's empty. I think it would change every 4 weeks. So we'd do like 4 weeks of, say, like badminton. Then we do 4 weeks of, I don't know, indoor gymnastics, then we do 4 weeks of trampolining, and then it'd be like the warm months, and then we do 4 weeks of like football, 4 weeks of rugby, 4 weeks of, and it would change quite considerably, and we'd like actually get to do a lot of different things. That was the only good thing about school, was the options to do that. All Catholic schools in the US are private. Oh, I don't know about the UK. I don't know if they're necessarily private in the UK, all of them. Again, I wouldn't know. Honestly, based off what the kids tell me, the basics, English, math, science, and health, and then electives, as we call them in high school. My daughter's 9, and by her age, we'd had the embarrassing health lessons about the body and the changes. Yeah, thing was, you learn how to use the machines in secondary school, and I was expected to know how to use them no matter how many times I told the teacher that I didn't go to secondary and had no clue what to do with them, and in the end my friends did all the heavy machinery stuff for me. That's crazy. Do you know what's even worse about the UK when it comes to stuff like that? Is so in school, right, I had to resit my maths exam. But we did maths, so we were in the year where quite a few things changed. So in the UK, years 10 and 11 are your final secondary years before you go and do 2 years at college, before then you go and do, or a sixth form, and then you go and do your university degree, right? So we did, normally maths was in like you do all your exams in the final year. In my time in school, we were the first year to have it split. So we had our maths exams in year 10, and we had some of our other exams or whatever in like year 11, right? So it was split across the 2 years. They did it differently for GCSEs, and we had GCSEs come in year 10 as our final grades and in year 11. And it was one of the first times they'd done it that way. And so when I then chose to want to be, because at the time I wanted to be a marine biologist, that was like my full-on goal for the longest time, was to be a marine biologist. And because I had done my maths in year 10, I had basically taken, you have to remember as well, I'm like a 15-year-old kid, right? So my brain's all over the shop. It's hormones, it's figuring out I'm gay, it's trying to get your first boyfriend, still figure out school, trying to enjoy your summer holidays, looking for a college, looking for a job, all these things at once, you know, as you get to that age. And I'd basically taken a whole year off of doing maths. So it was like I did it all in year 10, then I did nothing for year 11. And then when it came to what would be year 12, which is the first year of college, I had to pass. So when we went into, I took like international baccalaureate, which is, well, I was going to take an international baccalaureate, which is like, what is it, 6 to 13 or something? I can't remember. It's in the UK, you do 4 different things at college. You pick 4 classes, right? So like you pick maths, you pick science, you pick English, you pick history, whatever. And I chose to do the international baccalaureate because I was offered it because I was smart, apparently. I was academically smart in their eyes, which meant that I could take even more than 4, and I'd be doing a lot. And like that is a lot of fucking work to do all of that. It's hard enough doing the 4, right? And so I choose all these things, one of which being advanced maths. Now, because I had to resit my maths exam, I wasn't then taken to do advanced maths in year 11. So I was out for a complete year. Then I went to my first college induction for my maths, and I remember going over to the guy and being like, "Hi, I'm here for the maths class." And he's like, "You're late for the test." And I'm like, all of us, like, I wasn't the only one late. Like, we didn't know where we were going. It was obviously new to us all and whatever. But I'm like, test? What test? And he's like, well, you have to pass the this new test to see if, like, what kind of maths set you're going to be in, if you're going to need any extra help, like if you are even going to pass this class, like it's going to give us a really good indication of like sort of your maths knowledge, right? I hadn't done maths in a year as a kid. So all these people who had done their maths like in year 11 had just come fresh from it. They all knew the answers to everything. I didn't know the answers to anything, and I failed. And I will never forget the maths teacher saying to me, "You are never gonna pass this class." And I went to my first class afterwards, after passing it. I was in the bottom set. The first class was simultaneous equations. I still remember it to this day. And I used to love simultaneous equations. I was really good at them. And I did really well. And then the second class came and it was all about angles and stuff, and I couldn't remember anything. And so I was asking people next to me, like, hey, like, I've had a year out of this, like, can you just remind me of how to do, like, what the steps are, what I need to be looking for, like, how I work these things out. And I remember the teacher coming over to me and saying, told you. I literally remember him coming over and saying, told you, you need to apply yourself if you're going to stay in this class. And I'm like, what the fuck? Then I dropped the International Baccalaureate because I just could not keep up with all the different classes that I had to do. And then I took maths, chemistry, biology, and fucking hell, I don't even remember what the last one was now, something else. And after my first year, I got my grades, and they were the worst grades I'd ever had in my life. Like, I came out of secondary school with nothing lower than a C, except in my French. I got a D because I just didn't pay attention. But like, I didn't come out with anything lower than that, and I had like 11 Bs, 2 A's and 2 A stars or something. Like, I had some really good scores, and I dropped out. And then I ended up going to do what people in the UK take the mick out of, which is wild to me. But I went to do a BTEC level instead, which is sort of like you do more coursework than you do exams. And like, looking at myself now, I'm like, bitch, you were always fucking ADHD, autistic or something, like, because you could not focus on an exam for more than 2 minutes. I was always first to sit down for an exam because my last name's Abbott, A-B-B, and they always put you in order, don't they? So I was always first to sit down for an exam, and I was always the first one out as well. Because as soon as I didn't know the answers, I move on to the next. If I don't know the answer, I'm leaving it. I'm going on to the next one. I never used to reread through my exam booklets or anything. As soon as the answer was down on paper, I'd do it. I'd close the booklet and I'd be done. Because it was just too stressful. But then I went and did a BTEC and I got the highest grades that you can get. And I graduated from my college. Well, I completed my college 2 months before anybody else. But because I wasn't doing what the government wanted me to do with all of these like crazy fucking scores and skills and stuff, even though they're the ones that made it more difficult for me because they changed the order in which we did our exams in GCSE, I wasn't able to do it. But I'll never forget that teacher telling me I couldn't do it. Triggering as fuck that was. Bastard. Absolute bastard. Not what you want to hear as a kid trying your hardest, you know? Definitely not. Fucking hell, thinking about it. Thinking about how much like the different things that I went through in my educational career, it's crazy. Like, so many people are like, oh, I went to school, I went to college, I got a degree in this, now I have a job in it. And I'm like, that was just never going to be me. I was never going to be that person. I don't know how I passed my degree. I don't know how I passed my degree. I will never understand how I did that. Like, despite the late nights and like literally sleeping in the library. If any of you were on my TikTok live the other day, you'll have seen a girl called Ashley pop on, who was like, oh my god, you've changed a lot from the uni days. And that's because we used to be fucking crazy bitches. But me and Ashley used to sit in the library from 7, 8 in the morning till probably about maybe 9 in the evening. And then with that, we would go to one of our flats, grab some food, go to the shop and get some like snacks and stuff, and then we used to go and lock ourselves in the library for like an entire 24 hours just to get our work done. And we used to sit there and Google things and research things and read all the fucking books, and like we had to do everything together because we're in the same classes and stuff. We had different papers, but like without each other we would not have passed. Like there was quite a few of us. There was me, Ashley, a girl called Lucy, this lovely woman who was becoming a mom at the same time, this lovely pregnant woman who genuinely was in there for like 12 to 15 hours at a time with us, which was just crazy to me at the time. But like, if we hadn't have done that, we wouldn't have passed anything. And even doing that, we still didn't get the best grades. I finished my university degree with a 2-1 Bachelor's of Science in Psychology. I went to university though to do psychology and sport, 2 degrees in one. And I dropped the sports side as I got further on because it was just too much to fucking do. It was also boring. I hate how in the UK, if none of you know this, in the UK, when you take a sports degree or course, I don't know if it's anywhere else, it's 95% written work. So you think when you're going to do a sports degree, you're going to be doing loads of these sporting things, going out to all these activities, going to see these events and like running your own little games and stuff. It's nothing like that at all. It's basically 95% writing down things, doing fitness tests on people in a lab. Like, it's boring as hell. So boring. So I was like, I can't be doing this anymore. Like, it's not enjoyable in the slightest. All right, we're waiting for this last guy. Get this done. I'd love to know how your guys' school experiences were. Let me know in the comments how your experience of school was, like, just in general. I would love to know yours, Mama Duck, because I just know it would be so vastly different from mine, with obviously not only the age gap, but like living in different countries as well. It'd be so vastly different. Right, I'm just gonna go nick for a wee. I'll be back in a sec. Hopefully the Wi-Fi stays on. All right, I'm back. Mine is probably outdated, probably from even those from the US in here. I imagine it is, but I think it'd be still be really interesting to see the difference. Hotbish, also, Hotbish, have you seen the news today? Have you seen the breaking news about that little boy? Fucking heartbroken this morning when I saw that. I think it was in Leicester. I'm a little bit confused by the whole thing, and so were all the news reporters today that were like, that were supposedly doing all like the story and stuff. But there's like a little 5-year-old boy who was out on a walk with his parents, I think, early hours this morning, I think, and I don't know what's happened, but all of a sudden he's in the river. He's fallen in this river. He's like 2 years old, and because we've had so many like floods and a lot of rain in the last couple of weeks and stuff in a lot of areas in the UK, he's got washed away, and the entire Leicester, Nottingham, there's like 4 or 5 different police forces looking for him currently, but he just got washed away, and I don't know how or why, and they won't tell anybody anything. But apparently there was a male, like his dad, we're assuming, with him at the time, who jumped in after him trying to save him, but he couldn't. I think it's fucking crazy. It was on breaking news this morning. The only time I turn the fucking news on is something like that. That's why I can't do it. There's something in my head, because of the way the world is now, something in my head always makes me put the news on for at least 2 minutes a day, just to see if there's anything massive I need to be informed about. I don't know, even though I hate doing it. Considering I graduated high school 33 years ago. Oh my goodness, 33 years. When did I graduate high school? Like secondary school. Oh my god, I don't even know. 10, 11, 12, 13 years ago? 13 years ago. Jesus Christ, that's crazy to say out loud. 13 years? What have I done with my life since then? My god, not enough. Not enough. Yeah, it's really sad. It's really sad indeed. I just want to know what's happened. Like, the deputy chief constable that was talking about it was like, she was being very, I don't even know how to say it. She was being very nonchalant, like it was nothing, but then also was giving no information at all. So I was like, what? Right, we've got all that fuel now as well. 10 years ago since I graduated high school this year. Nice. Wait, do you have to stay? Because you're the same age as me, Chris. What age do you have to stay in your high school until? I think it's different now in the UK. I think it is the same, like 18 years. I think my brother was the year of that you have to stay in education until you're 18 or something. I think we were 16 with the ability to go into some form of like college or something afterwards if we wanted to. We didn't have to back then. I think you have to do 2 more years at least now. So you graduated in 2011, you think? God, it's been a while, guys, hasn't it? Oh, making you feel old? Don't be silly. Don't be silly. Hey, you're normally 17 or 18 years old, depending on your birthday. You were 15 or 16 when you left school, when I was in school. And then shortly after, you became... It changed to like you had to pass secondary school, and then you had to do a further 2 years in education. I think that's what it is now. Because my brother had to do 2 years in college. It was like forced upon them. Where's this gone? You had to do those extra 2 years. Let's take these over. Oh my god, I found an article. The boy wasn't even 5. No, yeah, he was 2 years old, Hotbish. Yeah, 2 years old. How on earth do you let a 2-year-old fall into a river? That's why I'm like, the police constable was saying nothing about it and like really giving like no comment to everything. And I was like, how does a 2-year-old fall into a massive river? Because if you look on the news articles as well, the river, like it's down a huge embankment. Like it's not just a river that you'd fall in. Do you know what I mean? Or if you do, like you're very fucking unfortunate because it's down like this big embankment thing. And I was like, it just didn't seem right. That's why I wanted to ask if you'd seen it, because I was like, I don't understand. You have 13 years total mandatory, but almost everyone goes to high school. We are 6 years. We go to our first grade. Okay, so yours is now what ours turned into. Yours is what ours turned into, Chris. So we must have fucking copied your system or something. Yeah, you have to stay till you're like 18, I think, in some form of education system now in the UK. I think you get to choose whether that be an apprenticeship, whether it be college, or whether it be some kind of like sixth form, which is like an add-on to the school that you probably already went to do like a final 2 years, do some more classes. What do I want to know about? I want to know what was school like. Did you go to your, like, did you go every single day? Did you bunk off quite a lot? Like, what were your classes like? What were your teachers like? Did you have uniform you had to wear? Like, I want to know everything, Mama Duck, about when you went to school. Because I find it really interesting, like the differences through the years. Because like now we're talking about how bad the education system is, and now I'm like, well, how bad was it when you went, or was it not as bad? Was it as intense? Did you have as many exams as we did? Because like I feel like the further I went through the education system in the UK, the more fucking intense it got. Like not just a little bit intense either, like massively intense. Like it went from playing in reception in year 1 and year 2 with your friends to instantly learning all these things that were very confusing for someone our age, to then insane amounts of exams, and then even more exams, and then like the pressures that the teachers used to put on you to do well. Like, I'll tell you that this is how intense it was in my secondary school. I think I've told you before. My mum bought me, so she was really tired of me wearing the same school shoes that they provide, that they basically forced us to buy. So this is something in the UK as well. You don't get your uniform for free. If you go to a school in the UK where it requires a uniform, you have to pay for the uniform. You need not only one set of uniform, you need at least 2 or 3 sets of uniform. You also need to have 2 or 3 sets of the school's logo, like embroidered physical education kits, so like the PE kits, like sporting outfits to wear at school. They're not fucking cheap. The shoes were the same. They had to be like the same standard, like Clarks or something, like very school shoes, very ugly, very like sturdy. And I remember when my mum first initially got me the school shoes, and they just never used to last because, like, you know, you're running around as a kid all day, you're on the fields, you're on the playground, you chill with your friends, whatever it might be. And then I remember my mum once, she bought me some Nike trainers, and like it was a big deal because they were stupidly expensive. Like we couldn't really afford them, but they were sturdy enough that they were going to last me a lot longer than the school shoes did. And they were all black, not like trainers, like, I don't even know how to explain them. Not like running shoes, just like smart trainers, right? They went with the uniform, and they had a white Nike tick on the side. And I remember walking in one day, and one of the teachers pulled me aside by my wrist, like full on dragged me to the side, took me straight to the principal's office, and was like, well, head teacher, we call them, head teacher's office. And they told me that if I could either take the shoes off and wear ones from lost property all through the day, I could, or I could colour in the white Nike tick with black Sharpie, or they'd call my mum. And my mum had already prepped me for this because we knew what the schools were like. And so I was like, okay, we'll ring my mum. And I remember nothing but hearing my mum scream down the phone at the head teacher because she was like, we've just bought our child comfortable shoes to be in while they're at school from, you know, 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. Because that's what it basically was. You get up, I used to walk to school. It used to take me 35 minutes to walk to school. And then I'd be in school all day, and then I'd be running around all day, going to different classes, chilling on the, you know, break times and stuff. And I remember her saying, we've not just paid all this money for you to force them to just colour them in with a black Sharpie. Like, why does a white Nike tick on shoes stop my child from focusing? And like, luckily for me, I had good grades. So she was like, well, they've got good grades, so what's the fucking issue? And the head teacher was like, it's just standard, so they can either colour them in now or you can come and get him. And she came and got me. And then they had it out over the phone for like the next couple of days. I was off school. And then eventually I was allowed to wear them because obviously it is fucking ridiculous to refuse a child with good grades to go to school because they've got a white tick on their shoes. Like, this is what I want to know. Was it like intense like that back then? Or is it just like new standards now? I think it's fucking crazy. We need dunce caps. I miss dunce caps. We used to have like the naughty rubber in my school. We used to have quite a few things in different classes. We had the naughty chair, we had the naughty corner. A lot of our teachers would ask us to stand outside the classroom, and our classrooms were all like glass windows, so like you stand outside the classroom and everybody fucking pointing and laughing at you. We used to have all sorts of different stuff. We used to have a rubber that would get thrown to you, not at you. You were never allowed to say that it was thrown at you because it wasn't. It'd be thrown to you. You'd have to catch it, and then if you had the rubber, you had to remain silent. No uniforms in public school in your day. You had exams 2 times a year, midterm and then final exams. Okay, that's a little bit different to us. I think all of our exams were all at the end of the year, I believe. Maybe they were split at some point. I know university was split. It was different all the time. One month I'd have like 3 exams and 2 presentations. The next month I'd just have like 5 essays to hand in. It was always a bit different. See, that's different. Schools requiring uniforms here now do not provide them. You have to pay for them yourself. It's the same as here. So I had the experience for a few years of going to a private Catholic school and then changed to a public school. Don't remember a ton of the public school because I was very young. Talking like 5, 6, 7 years old. You had dress codes. We had dress codes, but they were enforced like it was the army. Like it was enforced upon like it was literally the fucking army. It was just stupid. Like, it was too much. But there were things like you cannot, your shorts and skirts had to be fingertip length or longer. Yeah, we weren't allowed to, the girls were not allowed to wear skirts unless it went past their knees. It had to go completely past your knee, even when you're walking. Like if you were walking and it was like brushing up like higher than your knee, you weren't allowed to wear it. You also had to wear black tights. If you had a skirt on, you had to wear black non-see-through tights, which I understand. The boys were not allowed to wear skirts. The boys were only allowed to wear my secondary school, the boys wore white shirts, this multicolored tie that was disgusting, this like greeny yellow tie thing with the school stuff on, black trousers and black shoes, no trainers, no slip-ons, everything had to have laces. The PE kits for outdoors, get this, I love, this is so funny, I've just remembered. In my school, the PE kits, so the physical education kits, you had to wear all black. They had to be a black, again, you had to buy them with the logos on and stuff, like the school ones. The indoor kits were all black, and the outdoor kits were all white. I find that so funny, because it's like, it's gonna get wrecked. Like, why would it not be the other way around? I think it's so funny. But yeah, the indoor kits were black, the outdoor kits were white. You had to wear those. Boys were not allowed to wear skirts. Girls were not allowed to wear the shirts. They had to wear like a t-shirt or like a blouse. I'm trying to think what else. If you did anything to your uniform as well, you'd be like pulled into the office. So if you like pulled your skirt up, rolled your top, wore your jumper, like there was a point in my final year in school where we weren't even allowed to wear our jumpers in the hot months tied around our waist. You had to just keep them on. You had to keep them on. And then luckily for me, I left that school as my brother was just joining it. So he came to my secondary school in year 7. So his first year in secondary was my last year in year 11. I then left, and then my brother's second year in secondary school, they changed the uniform completely. And you had to wear shirt, waistcoat, blazer, tie, trousers. And they started being really ridiculous then. Like your bags had to be black. They wouldn't, like your backpacks had to be black. They couldn't have logos on. It got intense, man. I don't know what schools are like now, but it went crazy at one point. I thought it was stupid. They just got rid of that rule for you. No tobacco and alcohol adverts on your t-shirts. Oh my god, so you couldn't wear like a Budweiser cap or something. That's cool. Ooh. Hi, sexy Sean. How are you? We're talking about school, Sean. Our school experiences and how they all differ. I think it's really... I just think it's so interesting. At my school, skirts had to be 10 centimeters over the knee or longer. I think that's what our actual rule was as well. Hotfish, 10 centimeters or over, yeah. You couldn't... Yeah, they would measure. They would literally measure. How crazy is that? They would measure them. Like, are you lying? Girl, I bought this from the same fucking store that you supply them from. Like, you supply these. Of course they're long enough. For shorts and skirts, which I'm glad my daughter's fingertips are almost to her knees. You know, she's not going to wear shorts and skirts. It's laughable. Our PE kit was black shorts and urine-coloured yellow polo neck tops. Not urine-coloured, stop. But this is the funny thing. Spuds McKenzie was a huge thing for Budweiser when I was in high school, and kids would wear his t-shirts with him, and if they were caught, often they didn't even send him home. They just made them wear the shirt inside out. That's something that they used to do at our school a lot as well. Yeah, like if they didn't have anything in to replace what you had, or they were too busy to worry about like ringing your parents, whatever, the lost property would be full of shit, and they just give it you and like tell you, wear this inside out, wear this, put this on instead. It always used to smell. They never used to wash that stuff. Like if you were caught wearing lost property stuff, you'd get rinsed in the schoolyard. You'd be absolutely rinsed. Uniforms at school is such a foreign subject to me. Do you not have uniforms in Norway? Stop. I want to do my school years in Norway. You guys don't have any uniform at all? Oh my god, that's crazy. Like, the only reason I think the UK has uniforms is for the plain and simple fact that I think kids used to go, not missing, but they'd venture out too far on their own on school trips, and the only way of identifying them quickly, or if someone got lost, the only way to be like, okay, we know that is this person missing, we know their description, and we know they're going to be in the uniform, so they would tell people, okay, if you see somebody in the uniform that you see here, we're missing a child. Please let us know as soon as possible. I think that's the main reason for uniforms. It's also to know if anybody has infiltrated, I guess you could say, the school grounds that should be, on lock. You can't enter a school unless you're a student or a teacher or a parent kind of thing. So if you enter the schoolyard or the school grounds and you've not got a uniform on and you're an adult, I say, then they'd be like questioning why you're there kind of thing for child protection, child safety. That was really the main reason. If it was a white shirt, you could still see the whole thing. They were trying to hide, so everyone knew they had it in their own way. You was in a private military school and public. Oh my god, Sean, tell us about that experience. How was that? Hi, Jess. They said it was golden. They said it was gold colored. It wasn't. It was urine color. Oh my god. That's grim. I just think it's so funny that my school was like, do you know what we should do? When they're playing outside, doing physical education, and they're doing the rugby classes, and they're like tackling each other down to the ground in the mud when it's all wet in the horrible rainy seasons, we're gonna make them wear the white kit, so their parents have to do all the washing and getting all the stains out. Because also you weren't allowed stains on your uniform. So like if your uniform was dirty or had stains on it or whatever, and I think this is also really bad because we had a lot of schools. We had a year where a lot of Slovakian and somewhere else. We had a lot of students come from abroad to get an education because our school like sort of offered a program at the time because we were a sports college, so we offered an education to international students who had like who were brought up in really bad areas in their country that didn't have the opportunity to have education. We had a lot of exchange students come over for that. What's my point of that again? I can't remember what point was that. What was I saying? Why can't I think about what I was about to say then? I was talking about rugby and stuff, wasn't I? Why did I get onto that? What was my point going to be there? Don't remember what my point was going to be there. It was something. Maybe it'll come back to me. Oh yeah, but like they were. Sorry, that was it. They'd make you wear like these white kits, and if you had stains on your t-shirt and stuff, we had these international students who didn't have anything, hence the reason they were there, and like we would be like buddied up with them. We'd be buddied up with them to like take them around school, take them to the classes, help them with like anything they didn't understand and things like that. But then if they came in, they used to come in their regular clothes, they didn't have the uniform. And I remember some of the teachers used to pick on them and be like, you need to make sure that this top's washed, you need to make sure that you come in clean clothes to school and all of this. And I used to think they're here because they don't even have the possibility of education in their own country. So you really think a clean t-shirt's like at the top of their fucking priority list. Also, most people in my school had single parents. Like, my school was rough. They had like everybody had like single parents or like parents with a troubled marriage or something. And it's like, you think they're going home and saying to their mum, can you wash all my shit for the next day? Like, their mum's busy working probably 2-3 jobs to pay for keeping them in school and stuff, you know? Maybe some private ones, I don't know. That's crazy. That's so crazy, Chris, that there's no uniforms at all. Is there like restrictions on things you can wear at all? Or is it literally just like you can come to school in anything you want to wear? What was everybody's school like with hair? Like how your hair had to be? In my school, boys weren't allowed long hair. Boys were not allowed hair longer than like sort of past their chin, if you will, like fully grown out past their chin. If you had your long hair as well, girls or boys, it had to be in a bobble, like it had to be in a bun at all times. Not a ponytail, because a ponytail could be pulled or it could get caught on something. It had to be in a bun. You weren't allowed any colours in your hair, you weren't allowed any piercings, you weren't allowed any tattoos, you weren't allowed anything, really. You had uniforms in the military and private school. Security has gone war crazy at our schools now because of all the school shootings, which is their own fault, I feel. Absolutely, yeah. Do you guys, because of American school shootings, have you noticed like a vast difference in, like, I don't know, do you have like metal detectors? Do you have like, I know there's like preparation classes and stuff now. I think it's just crazy, that is. That's absolutely wild. You can't remember any restrictions. Chris is like, y'all are whining. We had a right good time in Norway. You had a shit time. Honestly. You was in Catholic school, grade 1 to 8. You weren't allowed long hair. We couldn't dye our hair. No, I remember there was one girl in my class called Lizzie, who was one of my friends. She came in with like a purple streak in her hair one day. We didn't see her for a week after that. She was expelled for like the week until her parents dyed her hair back the right color. She had like a hippie mum who just sort of let her do whatever she wanted. Like let her actually be a free spirit and a free person. And her mum was like, I'm not dyeing her. If she wants a little purple bit in her hair, what's the harm? And I remember the teachers being like, she came back and was like, we disputed it for the longest time, but then I had to dye it back black because they were saying, well, if we let you get away with it, then anybody in the school can get away with it. Like it's one rule for one kind of thing. One rule for all. Wild. You couldn't have you couldn't have a hat on inside. Okay, there we go. We weren't allowed that either. Chris is like, no hats inside, but anything else goes. If you want to come in some BDSM outfit, just make sure your cap's left at the door. One piercing per ear? We weren't even allowed that. No makeup? Yeah, we were not allowed makeup. Oh my god. You would never get caught wearing makeup in school. No, 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 no. You'd be in right shit. And then I think when we got to college and we were allowed to wear makeup in college. It's wild as well because in the UK, in our schools, they were like quite crazy with their restrictions. But then when it came to colleges, they were way less. So everybody went ham. And that's why you see on TikTok and stuff, like Brits be like, and then it's some girl with orange makeup and like Sharpie eyebrows, because we didn't know what we were doing. We weren't allowed it in school. So when we were then able to finally like express ourselves in college and stuff, we went ham with it, put all the makeup on, put all the jewelry on, put all the tattoos, all the piercings, dye your hair the wildest colors. I remember my first college had like 6 or 7 people with like rainbow hair. Your teachers are armed? Oh, but yours a military one? That's crazy. That'd be scary, that one, every day. There wasn't an issue for us in public school shoot. We had mullets and rat tails all over. Hell yes. Not all teachers are armed. In fact, many refuse to be armed. I can understand why. It shouldn't be something that you guys have to think about, you know? But yeah, in some schools there's metal detectors. That's crazy. That's wild to me. Like, schools having metal detectors. Like, I associate metal detectors with like airport security, you know, or like club security, not like school. But not all of our schools have a police officer in site. You have a police officer on site at all times? God, we would not have enough people in the police force to do that in the UK. There's not enough police officers. Teachers have the options to be armed and there's no metal detectors where you are. Many parents have chosen to purchase bulletproof backpacks for their kids. Oh my god. That's literally insane to me. Like, I can't even fathom. I can't even fathom. Bulletproof backpacks. Oh my god. The fact that those things exist, like, because they have to, that scares me, man. Like, that actually terrifies me.